Hey there everyone, welcome back to All of Fabric 6. Okay, so we've got quite a big episode planned for today. We've updated the Modpack to version 1.4.3, and let me tell you, it's no joke this. There's quite a few big changes. I won't bore you with all the details, but I'll put a link to the changelog in the description, so if you're interested you can go check it out. But a few things that are worth mentioning. We've got deep mob learning back in the game. Yeah, we will get a mob system up and running soon, but I'll most likely not do deep mob learning again. We did that last season. You'll see on the getting started page that we have Art of Combat and Carrot mode have been added. Through eating diverse foods, you unlock more hearts. And fancy attack animations, better collision, natural feel, combos, you can dual wield. That carrot mode thing is referring to the Spice of Life mod, which you might be familiar with. Yeah, Spice of Life is something I've been wanting to try for ages now. My god, are we underprepared for it. It's a mod that basically forces you to eat a variety of things. Like we've just been munching on toast this entire playthrough basically. Somehow if you stick with the same food for too long, you get diminishing returns, so you gotta shake things up. Variety being the Spice of Life and all. There's some other mods that have been added that you can like brew tea and make beer. The stats page has been changed heaps, which is pretty good looking. Speaking of looking good, that's the better combat that the quests were referring to. We've also got this mod called Simply Swords, which has heaps of cool swords, some really OP ones, but I think the best ones you can only get from chests because they don't seem to have crafting recipes. But now you can craft up a whole bunch of really crazy weapons like the Warglaive. Okay. Or my favorite, the katana. And these things look really cool. So you can see they've improved the attack animations. Oh my god! And as you saw there, the mobs have also increased in difficulty. We'll get to that in a second. And somehow we've also picked up weakness and mining fatigue there. No idea how long that's going to last. You can read all about the different weapons and what they do in this little book that you'll now spawn with. And it looks like if you get netherite versions of the weapons, you can etch in some runic tablets, which do cool things like every successful hit gives you increased chance of movement speed. Each hit gives you increased chance of attack speed and movement speed. Each successful hit has a chance to slow down your hostiles. That's pretty cool. We'll have to check that out later. It is netherite, so we're not quite there yet. There's this thing, so I heard you were talking crap about Minecraft's difficulty. This is what's responsible for giving us that weakness and mining fatigue. I think in general it just makes things harder. Mobs don't flee if target is half health. I didn't realize that was a thing that vanilla mobs did. Makes more of them hostile to villagers. Creeper explosions deal mining fatigue. Yeah, so everything kind of just becomes tougher. We can handle that. Oh look, new item vault. This guy's already full, so we had to double out our storage space. Right, but today we're here for the big one, modern industrialization. That mining fatigue. Let's play it safe and get another one of these big torches set up so no more hostiles are going to spawn in on top of us. Alright, modern industrialization. MI is the big one in this mod pack. It's basically like a slimmed down version of Greg Tech, but that doesn't make it any less intimidating for us. Everything you need to know is in this book. It's a mod about automation where you want to automate everything. So I figured let's reserve this almost island. This whole thing, this whole place here is going to be reserved for our factory. Yeah, so the goal is, it's more of a dream at this point. The dream is for full automation, where you can just basically sit back and the factory will work by itself and passively generate all the resources you'll need. That's iron and copper and tin and all that stuff in the early game, but eventually diamond and emeralds and netherite, easy peasy. You just have to keep on building your factory. They say it's strongly discouraged to use MI with AE2, so we're not gonna. Rather than waste kind of too much time on infrastructure, a general principle is don't lay down too much of your base while you're in the steam age, because once you get to the electric age, everything kind of changes. So rush through and hopefully, fingers crossed, into today, we'll have a quarry set up with one of these bronze drills operating for us, which will dig up all this ore for us. We'll never have to go mining for this stuff again. We better hurry if we're going to get there. Okay, before making bronze, you'll need to create a forge hammer. It's used for basic processing, blah, blah, blah. Done. On to bronze. First, you need to make copper and tin tiny dust by hammering copper and tin ingots in the forge hammer. You then combine the copper and tin dusts to make bronze, which is a more efficient process in a mixer, so you want to rush to get a mixer. So without the hammer, it looks like you get 1 for 1. Yep. With a hammer, you get also 1 for 1. Okay. Oh, and it doesn't take any durability out of the hammer. Tin does take durability though. Oh, and the ratio is not that great. 3 of them will get you 4 dusts. So bronze dust in a crafting terminal will get you 1 bronze dust for every copper dust, but also costs a tin dust. And you get 1 extra by doing it in a mixer, which we can't make just yet. And this is something that I really like about modern industrialization. Early on, the recipes are insanely expensive, but it gets cheaper once you start automating things. So there's a real push to get your base up and running. Heaps and heaps of bronze, which we can start firing up there. We'll have that bronze cooking up. Steam machines need steam to function. That's why you get a boiler, but it's given us a hint here to make your first bronze compressor before the boiler, and you'll save on a lot of plates. So compressor if we can, and then a boiler, but a boiler also requires a water pump. Get away from that furnace, which is a bit noisy. So to make our compressor, we need, so it looks like we're just going to need a few of these basic MI copper parts, rods, gears, etc. What are you? You're more of the rotors. So a bunch of rotors, a bunch of gears. Just going through the book a little bit, it looks like this might be the order in which we should craft things. Maybe. I think to get the best, these things are going to chill out. Maybe I need some milk to get the best kind of return for our investment. So first off, the compressor, which requires a bunch of these things. And I'll do the same thing I did last time, where I'll just get like an amount of bolts and rings and things like that. Because eventually you don't use this thing anymore. Like pretty soon we'll be compressing our plates into curved plates with our compressor. You also compress rods into rings and you cut rods into bolts, and it's a whole thing. Can we get some fluid pipes? Can we get a couple of bronze gear wheels? We'll need, I think, 2 of these bronze machine casings. Like so. Compressor, the forge hammer. I guess we sacrifice this one. If we need it again, we'll just make another one then. There's our bronze compressor. And there's our little achievement for it. Let's put it down there, and you can see it compresses things like ingots, bronze ingot into bronze plate. And rather than use up durability on our hammer, it uses steam. Now we need to give it steam and fire clay bricks. How do we make these things? You cook up fire clay dust, which is clay balls and brick dust. And while they're cooking up, we also needed a bronze water pump. Easy. The water pump and the boiler work together. Let's put our water pump here. We're going to surround that. We're going to surround that guy with water. Thusly. Seems we shouldn't have destroyed our last forge hammer. And we just need 3 fire clay bricks, which are made up of individual fire clay bricks. So we need 12 of them. 12 of them is 6 of each. Now we're cooking. With this wrench, ooh, it's got a nice little graphic overlay now. So you can like change the direction that it's facing. It's not quite obvious with this one. Like with this block, you can see we got the mouth on the front there. Now the mouth's on the side. But if you shift click something, it sets the output slot on it. And that's always displayed by this square frame here. So we want the output for the water pump on the top. So it'll pump out the top onto the boiler. And then with just a single steam bucket, by cooking up a water bucket, give this to, who do we give it to? Probably this guy. Give it steam by right-clicking there. It'll start using that steam and producing water. And then it just outputted water up here for us. You give that a fuel source. Now it's burning off the fuel source, heating up the water and producing steam. And that'll feed steam back into here. Bronze machines can only process recipes up to 2 EU a tick. As 1 millibucket of steam equals 1 EU, a boiler at max temperature can power 4 machines simultaneously. I'm guessing that doesn't include this machine. So this one can power 4 machines. Let's give it 1. Connect that up with steam with these fluid pipes that we built earlier. And then you right click here, say that is an output, that's an input. Now rather than using this stupid thing, we can get compressed things for free. Maybe for now we'll just do it manually. I know we're going to need a lot of this stuff. Okay, next up we need a mixer, because the mixer is going to give us much better ratio for more bronze, and that'll help us conserve tin. So there's our mixer. For now we'll just place that there. It should have steam coming in. Not yet. I think if you just find the single piece, you right click on that. Oh, got our steam. Now we can mix our dusts. Now once we get this dust, we want to start cooking it up. We're using coal over there to burn that up, but we can get a furnace from modern industrialization itself, which will use steam instead of coal. So output on here, put it down, and then you click on auto item extraction. That feeds it into there, and we've got steam powered furnace. And not last or least, now the macerator here is our good friend. Can I look at the recipes? It takes things in and converts them into dust, including ore. And it's with the macerator, to be honest, it has too many recipes. It's with the macerator that you get better yields. Let's look at iron. 1 iron ore will get you 3 raw iron in a macerator. You macerate that again. Each one will get you 1.5. So what's that? 3 by 1.5 is 4.5. So from 1 raw iron, you'll get 4.5. Then obviously you just smelt that back up in the furnace to get an ingots. Now I've already got a fair bit of ore stored up, like including 53 iron blocks. I'm hoping that'll be good enough. But because I'm so forward thinking, I just set up another quick little water pump, boiler, and 2 macerators. And with this one, I guess I'll show you. With this one, we've got the output on this side, and I've set it to automatically eject. So whatever it macerates, it'll put into a second macerator, which will then get taken out into this chest. You don't want to be doing things on demand. You always want to have like a nice healthy reserve of things like dust to work with. So the idea of this is you'd put ore up here, like let's say coal ore. You go mining, you silk touch it, get yourself some coal ore. With 1 piece of coal ore, you macerate that, you get 3 crushed coal dust, and then you macerate it again to get coal dust. Now, next on the list you'll see is the cutting machine, but the cutting machine needs a little bit of lubricant every time you use it. It gets us things like the rods from the ingots and the bolts from the rods. And once we get that up and running, we won't need this thing at all. But yeah, like I said, it needs lubricant, and lubricant you get from a coke oven. This will be our first multi-block. It requires fluid and item input and output hatches. It's like a block that'll say, hey, at this block, take things in at this block, or hey, spit things out at that block, whether fluid or items. Once you have had enough of the bronze machines, you start working towards making steel. The ultimate goal of which is to build a quarry, which will dig ores for you. The first step of that is making coke, which you use in a coke oven. So you need 21 bricks, 3 hatches, which are an item input, output, and a fluid input. And that's how you make the hatches. Well, there we go. Bricks aren't a problem at all. There's the controller. When you put that down, shape invalid, yep. Get your wrench and it'll show you the blocks that you're missing. This one has blocks underneath the controller that also need to be placed. So there you go. So it's like that, but there's a gap here and there's a gap above that one. So I need 2 of them. This is our item hatches. And you just put it back in the terminal to flip it from an input to an output. And then fluid input and output. And you get a sense now why you want so many of these things kind of piling up, right? I like output on the bottom, input on top, and we also got to give it steam somewhere. maybe right here. Oops. That's fluid output, fluid input. Put coal in the item input hatch and you're good to go. In that case, for now, we'll just chuck the coal in there. That's going to cook up our coal, give us coke as an output, but also a little bit of creosote. And just looking at what we can do with creosote, you can put it in an assembler. We're nowhere near there yet. Or you can chuck it in a mixer with a little bit of redstone, and that gets you your lubricant. I have an output hatch there. Auto output it into a barrel from MI. These things give you an achievement. These things will give you 32 stacks of one item. And if you keep getting better materials, you'll get 128 stacks until eventually you have, infinite stacks of a single item. Now, cutting machine requires a couple of these, a couple of those. Okay, there's the last of our steam age machines. Right, the cutting machine will stick on the end here. Give it a little bit of that. Okay, we're almost there. Next thing is the steam blast furnace, which is what you use to get steel. It's the same as the coke ovens with bricks replaced by fire clay bricks. I thought I remember somewhere it's saying that it's quite slow, so you should get a couple of them. So that's what I want to do. So what I've been doing is I've just got a bunch of bricks in here, breaking it down into dust. I take the dust, we get a better ratio if we put it in the mixer. It's auto-ejecting it into the furnace, so just keeping this topped up. And that's outputting bricks for us. So I think I'll just continue to kind of do this in the background while I get some item pipes connecting all these things together. Now MI has their own item pipes, as you can see, it's just kind of down here. But it takes steel to make them. We're not quite there yet. But we do have IR item pipes. So we can just kind of connect everything here, all messy like. We can say this guy here to request just coke. We'll put that back in there and take out... no! Oh, I've blacklisted the request. No, this needs to be on whitelist to only accept coke. Okay, that was bizarre. Right, if we put a fluid output right there, get it to auto-extract the creosote, get some redstone, and give it a little bit of the good stuff. Would that be enough to mix to get lubricant? And then lubricant we want to bring down and feed into the cutting machine to power that. Now we've got lubricant coming in here, and we can use this little fella. And we can use this little fella when we need like bolts and rods and stuff. And the item input there. We'll do the same thing as there. Output on this side. Auto eject into a barrel. Really misplaced this thing, didn't I? There we go. Now this guy takes a few things. Don't care about that recipe or that one. These are all liquid recipes. The only recipe we care about right now is steel. So to get steel, you macerate coke to get coke dust, and you mix that with iron dust to get steel dust, and then you cook it in here. Uncooked steel dust, you can get 7 iron dust will get you 7 with 2 cokes, or 7 will get you 9. Much better ratio. And because I've been keeping these machines busy pressing and cooking and chopping and cutting, we're going pretty well for resources here. Now this mix is going to eat up iron dust and coke dust and give us uncooked steel dust. Iron dust, by dragging it in there, I've locked that recipe. Coke dust, let's also lock them. This will give us coal dust. We can pinch a piece. And then with an empty hand click on the servo, this is going to request coal dust from anywhere in this cable network. We'll just macerate whatever coal we have, and that'll get all that started. Okay, so now it's receiving coal dust. It'll turn that into coke dust, which is prioritizing to put in here, but also we want it to go in there. Now we want this to say coke dust instead. If we also start macerating some iron, this will start macerating up the iron once it's done with the... Actually, it'll start doing it now. That'll macerate up, come into the mixer here. Oh, we've already got it. And then we just need to... Let's just lock that slot. It'll take it now because I've locked that slot. It'll only take the steel now. And there it is. So, I threw another one down. Not just that, this one comes with a creeper tucked inside. Now, I should probably make a third one, but I couldn't really be bothered. As you can see, they actually, multi-blocks like this can share a wall. They can't share like inputs or output hatches, but they can share walls with no hatches. So you'll see later in the season, we'll have a whole bunch of these lined up all next to each other and save on bricks. Yeah, I think 2 ought to be enough to kind of work in the background while we go do something maybe a little bit more exciting, depending on what your tastes are. We currently got 22 of these things. We need about 400. Yeah, I hope this makes sense. This is just kind of my quick hack job to force everything through so we'll get enough items to get us into the electric age next time. These things here can help us kind of double macerate things. If we're getting raw ore, for instance, we can put that in there, like this coal. You chuck that in there. It gets macerated into crushed coal, and that gets put into here, which makes... Crushed coal actually makes the same thing. It turns into coal dust. That gets fed over here into our input hatch, which gets converted through the power of magic into coke dust, which gets automatically output into our barrel. It feeds the cable network for whatever needs it, which is this guy and these 2 boilers. Yeah, and that kind of keeps everything powered up. Because I am so smart and handsome, I built all this in a single chunk, so we can force load this chunk. Say goodbye to it for now. Bye, chunk. And then, yeah, when we come back, hopefully that number of steel is it's a little bit higher. All right, MI, how you been holding up without me? You've got 550 steel. See how great this thing is? It's like a set it and forget it. Come back later and you got yourself 550 steel to play with. All right, so let's play. So we want to get ourselves set up with a quarry so that we can put some drills in it and start passively producing all these goodies. The steam quarry is a steam multi-block machine that consumes bronze drills. It digs deeper than bedrock and gives you back some ores, as we just saw in REI. It's recommended that you have multiple SBFs running before you attempt to build it because it requires a lot of steel. Well, yeah, way ahead here. Now we can start doing things like compressing them up. Because I'm an impatient frog, we'll overclock them just a bit. And it's telling us that we can upgrade some machines with these things. Now that we've got ME plugged in, it's actually pretty easy to craft all this stuff up. You just kind of throw everything into it and let God sort them out. So let's get this compressor upgraded to a steel compressor. That should go a bit faster now. And while all that steel's cooking up, and I swear it's just a bit difficult, but the quarry also requires building one of these Invar rotary blades. Diamond dust, easy enough. Just run some diamonds through our macerator. Bam. Invar is cooked up version of Invar dust, which is a mixed version of iron and nickel dust. We'll stop all that iron from going there to make more steel for the time being, so we can get our hands on it instead. And then it's just a matter of mixing up the iron and the nickel and getting Invar ingots cooked up in the furnace. Thankfully, it's just the one gear, so you don't need an awful lot of them. So, rings, bolts, and plates will be enough for our one of them, our one of them, our one of them, and enough steel in the bank to get your to get all the blocks needed for the multi-block. Steel hatches have more capacity than bronze hatches, and a multi-block with at least one steel hatch will be upgraded to steel tier. So you can use bronze hatches for all of them, but just put one steel hatch in there and it'll become a steel tier machine, which will go twice as fast as regular machines. A steel boiler will produce twice as much steam as a bronze one, etc. We'll make the fluid a steel tier 1 so that the machine itself can go faster. Bam. That's it, right? That's our quarry. Connecting that up. This guy has steam. This guy's ready to go. Just requires putting in a bronze drill. So easy enough. Another one of them. Bronze drill head. Slap it on top of all that. Bronze drills. Where's my achievements? Okay, we've got power. We've got input. We did everything that we needed to for today. Let's throw these in there. Tell this to auto output into here. Takes 4 EU a tick. We can speed it up to 8. First operation, we get a piece of copper. Oh yeah, it doesn't actually consume the drill every iteration. There's just like a really small chance of it being consumed, 4% chance. So every operation, an operation takes 30 seconds. You have this percentage to get all these items. It's only got a 4% chance of being consumed. So now that we can do this manually, I'll say pretty easily. It took a bit of grinding, but it wasn't so hard. And it would have been easier, and please learn from my mistakes. Make heaps and heaps and heaps of things. Make sure you have like a whole reserve of items to use. Don't just craft up 64 steel, craft up 640 steel, and then turn half of them into compressed plates and a bunch of them into rods and bolts. And the same for bronze and all that stuff. And next time, this will all be gone. Next time we're going to demolish all this, start building our factory here. But we're good now to come in here and take our ore out of here, chuck it into there. It'll crush it up into little bite-sized pieces and dust, share it to the rest of the network, and yeah, I'll leave this thing ticking over, do up probably a full stack of bronze drills, and this thing can just kind of work in the background and gathering up a whole backlog of materials that we're going to need to work our way into the electric age. Right, well, that's about all the time we got for today, I think. Hope you had a fun time. I certainly did. We definitely spent a lot of time, probably more than we should have, on getting the start of our factory set up. But it's just really important that we progress through that quickly so that it doesn't take up too many episodes. We got 5 logistics and storage loot bags. Yep, nothing too exciting. An Ad Astra common loot bag. Oxygen tank, an Ad Astra rare loot bag. Some of the good dash plating. A magic epic. Soul ingots, I like. 20 of these, oh my god, 20 of these MI common loot bags. Right. Yeah, the tin's cool. Resistors. Oh, gold drill. And lastly, 2 artifact loot bags. Provides a damage boost during the night and makes potions last longer. We can equip it. That just goes there. And you? Actually, our band of aura is meant to be in there. We don't really have a slot. Pretty sure you can combine that with the sun ring and you get increased damage all times of the day. All right, there's a lot of busy work we did today. Hopefully it made sense and I did a good job kind of explaining my thought process, such as it is. Next episode, no more modern industrialization. We'll probably have a bit of a break, get back to Spectrum, maybe get out there in the world and probably go do a bit of exploring. Maybe if I'm brave enough, I'll go check out the Deep Dark. All right, catch you next time. Hope you enjoyed. Bye for now.